Picks and bans are ready for game 2, Taco. Where do you want to see adjustments from Obey here going into this second?
Definitely more pressure in the dual lane. If Mouse are going to cater that heavily towards Spudio, then Ataraxia needs to have some way to respond. The Rom pick selection, I like the lane game potential that a Rom can bring to the table, but there's always a concern that you're in a direct counter matchup against that Artemis. I almost wish that it would have been Ataraxia on that Neath instead.
Yes. Neath, actually, you're right. Neath is not a problem in the composition just because she's in the mid lane, but maybe on Ataraxia instead. I'm definitely with you on that one, Taco, as Obey are going to be first pick here this time up against Mousesports, and Mouse with a chance to close this set out if they can win game 2. Not saying it's likely, Obey's still certainly very strong in their own right, but Mouse have a chance to get it done, Taco, if they can lock in on what worked well for them in game 1.
Well, Mouse choosing to eliminate that Guan Yu one more time, I think that's certainly the right calling card still, and Obey actually switching it up and taking away the Discordia this time around.
Giving some respect over to BigManTingz. I think that's well earned. He looked good on the Discordia pick as well. Meanwhile, Mouse themselves are the one banning Artemis. Would Obey have first picked Artemis here? Is that such a concern?
I think that would have been a very likely possibility. There's been a ton of priority facing off against an Artemis, and so many teams have been wanting to pick her up.
I'm right there with y'all. S tier, certainly. As Cerberus is being that first pick for Obey instead. This is one I believe that was actually banned out in that place last game, and now Cerberus going to be very much prioritized by the Obey squad. Meanwhile, Mouse taking a look towards Sobek.
You know how people say, don't let your memes be dreams?
Right.
That's kind of what saying S-tier Artemis has been for me throughout Season 5.
You don't want it to be a dream. You want it to be, you want to get it out there. As Hebo comes in, Hopwa for Mousesports as well, after playing very well there by Cherryo in game 1. But the Thoth coming out for Obey, I like this. Let's get Prime back on a big-time mage in the middle lane, and very likely that's what we're going to see.
God bless. That's all I can say. Seeing Prime back on a strong mid laner at that too. Thoth going to be able to present a lot of range, which is necessary if you're asking me. Mouse going for the Habois, it was a bit of risk versus reward, I think, because gods such as Thoth and Agni were still available for Obey to pick up, and I like that they ended up going with the Thoth because that range is going to be so important if you want to have a chance at taking out this Habois from a distance.
A little bit surprised that Ullr getting prioritized this early. I mean, I know he's strong in lane, but most of the other popular hunters right now, like Hachiman comes to mind, even Ram comes to mind, are better late game, better in the teamfight phase. This makes me feel like Obey want to win the lane up against Spudio. Kind of like what I was expecting to see in game 1, really, like a lane bully.
Well, Ullr is definitely going to be able to accomplish that, though. And the Spudio on this ROM, some of the concerns that you have is, will he be able to stay as relevant during the laning phase, knowing that he'll have to go up against this Ullr? I think that the Thoth also could potentially be able to maneuver into Mouse's jungle. So Mouse have to make sure that they're on top of those buff timers. Otherwise, I think we just see Obey invading them nonstop.
I would not be surprised if that's what they do, if they're able to establish that early pressure. Meanwhile, Obey ban away the Sylvanas and the Ho Yi. Even with the ROM already selected, they were worried about the double hunter composition coming out from Mousesports, as Amaterasu instead is going to be that selection for Mouse.
And the Amaterasu brings a nice amount of movement speed that I think that Mouse are really missing out on. Sure, you have that water carpet from the Habois, and that can be pretty efficient, but I think as far as frontline is concerned, Amaterasu is really going to fill that void quite nicely for Mouse. She introduces the mobility, she introduces control, and she's going to be able to absorb a lot of attacks.
Absolutely. Amaterasu, a great pickup for Mouse as Serqet Fafnir lock in. This feels way more Obey to me. I'm loving this draft so far. I just kind of wish it was a different hunter in there. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the Ullr outside the laning phase, but I think that this feels very much Obey. A good position to bounce back here.
And Mouse, I think that this is certainly a make it or break it kind of composition. I mean, you're banking everything into that Poseidon Habois right now, it feels. And Spudio, sure, if he's able to get off to another pretty nice start on the ROM, we could potentially see him looking to carry again. But I think right now this just screams all BigManTingz here, needing to make sure that he continues to stay as far forward as he has been.
Well, he earned that Discordia ban, so maybe he can get it as good of a performance here in this game as well. But Taco, I mean, it doesn't feel like they have as big of setup for this Poseidon. A lot of the times you want like a really easily confirmable setup for that big Kraken. I mean, I know Sobek Pluck is great, but I mean, do they have the big setup for this Poseidon here?
I don't think they necessarily need that setup as much as they wanted that Whirlpool cripple
It
for Obey, because it's really strong against the Ullr and also really strong against the Serqet. Thoth, from time to time, sure, you might be able to catch him in it, but slows are abundant for Mouse here, and I think that the right amount of slows sprinkled in with the right amount of hard CC is going to be what could really escalate this team draft.
Well, Taco, I mean, you got both drafts here. I mean, dare you pick a Mouse 2-0 here, or can Obey force a Game 3?
I don't want to believe that Obey let this one go without a fight, but Mouse's comp just feels really sound.
Wow, sounds like we might be leaning a little bit towards Mouse here on the desk. Okay, let's see if this Spudio look for them is enough for them to get the 2-0, or if Obey can force a Game 3. Casters, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks a lot, Finch. Thanks a lot, Taco. And, I think everybody out there is kind of rooting for the underdog, but at the end of the day, I have no doubt in my mind, really, that we see a Game 3. I mean, like, clearly, this is a team that is towards the top. They're kind of playing their stuff this time around. Serqet also eats Ebo for dinner.
Serqet definitely does a lot of eating for a lot of squishy targets. That could be a solution fixed if you go for a Warlock staff, though. Get more health. You don't need defenses, you need the health against Serqet.
And that's the classic tried and true Cherryo Hebo build in the jungle. He goes to the Warlock staff and doesn't do anything for 10 minutes. So we'll see if that's the direction that he and his teammates elect to go, and if it'll help him against the Serqet. Don't forget, she does percent HP, so building HP against Serqet isn't always the right way to go. Either way, let us know who you think is going to take this game, whether it's Mouse or it's Obey. Honestly, you want my official, professional opinion? I think this is 50-50. I really think that, and that is a surprise for Mouse fans. I think that Mouse come into this matchup maybe 70-30, maybe a little bit higher. After game number 1, I'm looking at a 50-50 here.
It's hard to tell right now, but I think that the picks and bans are definitely even enough. It's just all about the gameplay. Who is mentally more in it this far? Because Obey Alliance have been in situations where they bounce back from deficits. That's what makes them a very high elite team, and that's why they're going for a different style now. PrettyPriMe going back to his traditional mage style, going for CaptainTwig, going for his assassin.
PrettyPriMe, one of the notable Thoth players, and Xaliea doing this this start that I apologize to the folks at home. I actually forget who did this. I think it was yesterday or the day before. I think it was Fine OK that helped his hunter do red buff before they went to lane, and then teleported over to the solo lane. Again, I apologize. I forget which player it was specifically, and I'll get that information for you later. But it was not the first time we've seen this play, and it's kind of a nice look.
And something interesting to note for this game in particular, Ataraxia was 7,096 player damage away from hitting his 5 million damage player milestone.
Lifetime.
All his time career stats did not hit it in that last game, but he's only 100 more damage off for this game. So if we take a quick look at the player damage,
yeah, we should keep it
because there's a lot of action in the dual lane.
Well, look at that. Ataraxia, 295 player damage. Congratulations. The first player. Actually, is he the first player?
No, he's going to be the number 5. There's actually, I made a Twitter little tweet about it, and there's 4 more, and I decided to let the fans at home guess who's the other 4 above him, because the list is pretty interesting.
Very, very interesting to see that one. So congratulations, Ataraxia, on your 5 millionth point of player damage. Not something that many players actually reach. This is, you're talking 5 years that Raxia has been playing as he gets plucked up and forced to jump away. Rolling forward to Spudio, though. Stun goes on to the support player. The Astral Arrows will cut through, but iRaffer doing a great job of protecting Mr. Nate there so he can continue the celebration.
And unfortunately for Ataraxia, he's not really getting the better end of this trade because of Dardez and the Sobek plucks. He controls so much space, and he also disrupts the flow with his tail whip, being able to displace not only the opposing gods, but the minions from getting off the damage that they need.
Yeah, watching the Sobek play there is one of the more frustrating things. Is a lot of average players, like a lot of some of the newer folks, etc. Sobek is so incredibly dominant because of how much displacement he does have, and the ability to just lock the lane down. Sobek stands in front of the character, in front of the creeps, and what do you really do about it?
It's too scary. No one wants to get plucked into the backline trying to make anything happen. as Sobek does control all that space. A lot of action on the blue buff side of things, where Obey Alliance looking to strip away the blue buff, which is a little troublesome because Nika on the Amaterasu needs that mana to be able to continue to switch the auras to gain that extra health return.
Very true. Xaliea is going to pick up the blue here. And as I was talking about Xaliea earlier, starting at red buff, it was Maniac. I believe you mentioned that as well. It was Maniac that started at red before. And as a solo laner yourself, it's a very interesting start. Because we're 6 months into the year that we've been playing on this, and we're just now seeing this solo lane start at red, TP back to lane. Totally, what can you tell us about the positives and the negatives to this start?
Well, the thing is, you're obviously wanting to get your dual lane ahead, stripping away any sort of experiments, because the level 5 play is the most impactful play. You're not making the level 5 play in the solo lane more often than not, so any sort of experience you lose, you're giving it back to your allies. In Season 4, I believe it was Trifecta's Kiki So Cheeky that used to do the same exact idea.
Yes.
Where he would always start, well, not always, but sometimes would start helping Snoopy kind of get in there, being able to get that slight lead, because a hunter with an early game lead is more impactful than a solo laner with an early game lead. So you use your own time to make a 3v2 presence in the red buff, and instead of obviously wasting 30 seconds or more traveling back to your solo lane, you teleport in anyway, and with a 200-second cooldown, more often than not, at level 1 through 4, the enemy solo laner is not going to do enough damage to force you back, so you'll still have enough timing to get off another teleport.
Xaliea has been able to take this lead and actually use it in his own lane. He's about half a level above Nika right now. Nika just now hitting level 6, where Xalia's been sitting at, and it's interesting because I think there could be some friends at home sitting there and going, you know what, look, you're talking about the difference between 1 or 2 creeps, but at the end of the day, Totally, what do you always see? It's a game of inches.
That's right, it's a game of inches, so any sort of experience advantage you can get in one lane or the other can transition into another play, into a second one, and then all of a sudden you're either getting the Gold Fury, getting a tower, which is just keeps on stacking.
Yeah, fun stuff there. PrettyPriMe in the mid lane. Heard him warm up that ult. Not going to go for it just yet. Very interesting to see him doing his thing. I love Prime on the Thoth. I want to see more mage play. Cherryo right now going to get aggressed on, finds the knockup, but will get hit by the last breath as well. Ultimate from Xaliea. Not effective because of the CC immunity from everybody else. Cherryo used his ultimate defensively, as did Nika.
Very unfortunate that PrettyPriMe was not in position to follow up from Twig's ultimate. That crushing wave was used perfectly to immune the knockup from Xalia's Stygian Torment. Nika was there also, but his ultimate was there just to create a little bit of a buffer to prevent CaptainTwig from chasing down the Habwa.
Nice interaction we just saw there in the solo lane. Nika able to silence out Xalia's dog breath. Nice stuff there. Gonna depend on that, I think, throughout the course of the game to stop Xaliea from really stripping the protections from him and the rest of his team.
Still able to really make things happen despite not having his blue buff from earlier on. This is something that Amaterasu is going to start transitioning very well off of, and this damage trays between these two players. Yes, Xaliea can steal away some of the healing from Nika once you're getting close, but this collapse from Mousesports, they're consistently trying to get away these backcamps as Twig looking for more action.
Cherryo misses the knockup, able to dodge out one hit of the Cobra. There's a pluck coming out from Dardez right into the Kraken. PrettyPriMe able to answer back, though, with the Aegis nice and clean.
To Nika. Final Judgment. iRaffer confirming the flash. He gets the ability to get that extra gold. Xaliea takes out another onto Cherryo. This is Obey Alliance start that they would want to have.
Exactly. This is much more classic Obey Alliance, and it's funny because Prime did some of the dirty work there, but it was really the setup that I want to give a high five to. iRaffer doing a great job there of setting some players up and just letting PrettyPriMe shoot a straight line.
Being able to transition from a Neve to a Thoth, that's what you're really looking for out of your mid-mage. Just being at the right place at the right time. Also, iRaffer setting that up very well with the stun from his dragon form.
Dardez again, serving up PrettyPriMe, making him feel uncomfortable. Here comes BigManTingz. No mana available, though. This could be problematic. Spudio going to the sky. One shot's good. Second will miss. Third will hit. PrettyPriMe with about
so close.
2 HP there.
Yeah, he had 12 once we actually went to him, so he had less than 10 probably.
I'll say like 8, 6 to 8.
Oh, thanking his lucky stars there.
Oh, man. Spudio And it's funny. That's kind of what I was talking about with respect to the team when they got shut down on the right side of Phoenix last time around. The lack of community. These are Spudio hits 2 out of 3 with the third one he gets the kill. This team is just so close, Totally. So close, man.
Needed like an extra Sobek basic attack to allow that third one to hit. Very, very, very unfortunate. But still forces him out long enough to give some sort of freedom for BigManTingz to make the back, replenish his mana, look for round 2 between this double magical combo.
Ooh. I promise not to make that noise ever again. I'm sorry. But the Zoom Orb coming out for BigManTingz right there. Do more with Doom Orb. That's what we used to say. It's a very different item now. It used to be one of the most magical efficient items around. Now, not the same. Basically, what's going to happen is you're going to get these brief stacks. Think like Talisman of Energy, if you will. They're not permanent, and you're going to get about 15 extra power. So it's 85 magical power, mana, and MP5 once you're like killing stuff totally.
Yep.
But you got to kill the stuff first.
That's true, but it lasts 15 seconds, so between your mid wave, between maybe getting those left side mids, right side mid harpies into another mid wave, you could potentially stack it for quite a long time and have that almost infinitely refreshed.
So BigManTingz going this option. I mean, obviously movement speed on Poseidon is fun because you zoom around a lot.
Yes.
But is it good? Why do we see the Doom Orb here?
It's so cheap. It's 1,700 gold, and with how much mana Poseidon invests into his abilities, that 20 MP5 and 200 extra mana goes a long way for a very short amount of money. Now, you could also do a different kind of build for more defensive options, like going for a Breastplate of Valor.
Sure.
If you're looking for the mana cooldown reduction MP5 instance. But that's not what you want out of your mid-mage. You're looking for that big burst of damage. You can also get that out of Cherryo, but a little bit of magical defense will prevent BigManTingz from being successful if he goes for defense.
So one of the soapboxes I've been, I won't say using recently, I'll say one of the soapboxes I've dusted off and pulled out of the closet has been the idea that builds are not meta. You should build what you need for the game. Doom Orb. Is this specific to this character, specific to this composition, specific to this game, or specific to this overall metagame?
I don't know what the answer is, honestly, because of the build from Cherryo, going for Warlock Staff. I would say that this would be game-specific if Mousesports are looking for the early picks and aggression, trying to rely on that extra boost of 1,700 gold for some sort of play. It's a very cost-effective item, but they haven't really made the plays happen quite yet out of it. They are grouping up now, though, looking for iRaffer, but it's a counter-blink from Twig.
Yeah, he's going to find the backline. Kraken used relatively defensively. Cherryo ults through the course of everybody and doesn't do much damage there. Dardez relatively low as well. Ultimate forced into him. Nika going to dash forward.
Wow.
And there's a ton of low players on Mouse.
That final judgment from PrettyPriMe ripping through so many different targets, and that's what's allowing Obey Alliance to continue this tier 1 tower siege if they were looking for it. But wanting to min-max their farm, grabbing the left side Oracle, surprised that they're not going for the Gold Fury. So many Mouse members backing.
Yeah, a little bit rough there.
Good Sentry Ward from your Hunter player. Normally, that's not the target. Normally, like, you're going to have a regular ward to be able to place right outside the enemy's purple, see the enemy jungler making the rotation, but investing that 120 gold goes a long way. Obey Alliance had a window to do the Gold Fury.
Cherryo now in trouble, but able to use his beads to get out of the crowd control. Dardez trying to save Cherryo's speed, but there's 3 members of Obey in this back jungle, Tully. Where's the punish?
Stealing it away. Crushing Wave not available for Obey Alliance, but final judgment from PrettyPriMe, making it too scary for Mousesports to really get in there the way they wanted to. They needed to wait a couple more seconds and make something happen. The cooldown reduction here from BigManTingz and Cherryo, the Kraken and the Crushing Wave, it's the same amount of cooldown, but the 20% between the Shoes of Focus and Mage's Blessing kind of separates that gap.
So right now, when you're looking at the difference, how do you expect to fill that gap?
You could go for a Chronos Pendant from Cherryo, but he really wanted to be able to get that stacking department early. That's why it kind of confuses me between these two builds of Cherryo and BigManTingz. One's early, another one's a little bit later.
Could it be that BigManTingz is looking to cover the ground that Cherryo can't cover. I'll go early because you're going middle game, late game.
Possibility, not wanting to commit all their eggs into one basket. And
Don't count your chickens till they're dead.
That's true. So this Doomworm still trying to be a little bit more fruitful, but it's going to start to fall off once the 5th items are completed, which will happen in about 15 minutes or so.
Xaliea and Nika zoning each other out from the rotations. I like that. Nika's an interesting character. I think he started off kind of having some issues matching the rest of the squad. Just not able to play up, and I'm being nice. Nika wasn't looking good originally when they first drafted him and picked him up, because this isn't his first foray into the pro scene. He played and kind of scrubbed out and then was left outside the lines for a while. But then Mouse this year picked him back up coming into Season 5, and he started off rough, totally. But I've grown to enjoy what he brings to the solo lane.
Now, the thing is, we don't really know what goes on behind the scenes, and my best guess is that he has a great mind for the game because he played in different roles, not just solo lane. He was once a jungler, once a hunter, going back to solo lane, as I think he was starting as a solo laner, if I recall correctly. But either way, bouncing between 3 different roles means that there's more to it than just being able to play one role. You have a well-balanced mindset and maybe a positivity that helps the team go a long way.
And just speaking to him, I got a chance to speak to the players here at LAN. Cherryo losing half his life bar for PrettyPriMe. Very smart guy. Very well communicated. Understands what he does. And with Cherryo backing to base, Bay Alliance going to view this as a window of opportunity. Mouse here, but so is PrettyPriMe.
Snipes, Obey Alliance.
Easy peasy.
Securing that one. In the backline goes CaptainTwig. Last breath onto BigManTingz, getting him very quickly out of this team fight. Kraken was not enough to steal that one as Dardez plucks himself away into safety.
Xaliea playing up, trying to zone players away, and PrettyPriMe doing the same. Gold Fury goes to Obey Alliance, and so Obey, 2 kills to 0. They find themselves up 26-47 in the gold category. 15 minutes on the clock as well. And Obey, I think this is much more the style of game a lot of fans at home expected.
Slow and steady, grindy, just drudging their feet and dragging their feet, rather, through the mud. Not able to really do a quick game because they want to take the guaranteed opportunities. They're not the ones that's going to be looking for a lot of hot and flashy invades. They're going to just play their own style and whatever works for them, because that last game did not look like a traditional SPL kind of caliber game for Obey. The picks,
I don't know if I agree there.
the picks of the game number 1 didn't really coordinate the way it probably should have, with the need for PrettyPriMe trying to help out CaptainTwig on the Habwa.
Now that I maintain. I just don't think that they enable. I don't think they played to their team's strengths, which is something that I fiercely believe in. But I don't know. I like Obey trying different things because they aren't on top. So you got to try different things to get those victories. Well, can you tell me why Mouse just watched CaptainTwig do that, Camp?
It's very quick. 1 Deathbane, and then all of a sudden you ambush away. You can't stop the level 12 Serqet that already has Magai's Cloak.
That's
and
fair.
Interestingly enough for CaptainTwig, outside of the Magai's Cloak, electing to go for the Bracer second relic instead of the Purification Beads.
So I don't know about going in lieu of Purification Beads. Let's look at the options that Mousesports have. Amaterasu has a stun and an ultimate. Hebo, you're not predicting the water spout. Sorry, you're just not. Maybe you could beat the carpet, not on that. Beating Poseidon Whirlpool is actually a very real thing. Sobek, you're going to beat the pluck. And then Ram beats the cripple, I guess, sure. There's not a lot here. There's no Ymir freeze that is truly threatening me. What I would say is maybe I go the Aegis, right, to prevent a lot of that burst damage. But CaptainTwig going the reactive route, looking to, and I think the Bracer, and this is kind of a wild thing to say here, Toli. I think the Bracer might be the best defensive relic versus a Hebo.
It's a baiting tactic. If you see a low health target as a Habwa, your eyes kind of widen up, and you're like, okay, crushing wave time, let's go. Let's make the flashy play happen. But the Bracer of Undoing is going to prevent that. So I'm expecting CaptainTwig to go for more health.
Yeah.
Just to be able to really capitalize on the synergy with this item.
Yeah, for me it's less of the bait tactic and more beads doesn't help you against the Hebo because you are not predicting that knockup. I'm sorry. Aegis isn't helping you versus the Hebo because once knocked up, you can't Aegis in the air, and that's when you get hit for a zillion with the ultimate. What you can do is you get knocked up, you get ulted, and if you survive, you Bracer and you come back with the Fury of 1,000 Suns. I think Bracer is the best defensive relic that you have at your disposal against the Hebo. So I like this look from CaptainTwig. It doubles down as well if he goes cooldown route and upgrades that. Being able to get the, 3 seconds off of your cooldowns, I think that is really nice. I like it better on some other characters, so I don't expect CaptainTwig to upgrade that anytime soon. But the defensive relic choice against Hebo can be a troublesome decision to make. And I like the Bracer direction.
And it's not just against the Hobble, it's also against the Poseidon that also has an insane amount of burst damage. So I'm expecting even more magical defense. CaptainTwig going for the Runic Shield, which gives you the magical protection and reduces the enemy magical power. So you double down on that aspect, and then you're going to be looking for a good time because you mentioned it before. You could still go for the tank Serqet if you can find the basic attack after you apply all those poisons to get the percent true damage.
Right now, it looks like he's going into probably a Masamune, in all honesty. The more defensive katana, right? Gives you 100 HP in addition to the 50 power. Obey Alliance looking pretty. Certainly nicer than game number 1. But also, deceptive scenario here. Mouse specifically play Hebo jungle for the late game. They do not play, in fact, I would even venture to say they don't really play Hebo jungle. They play Hebo extra carry, where they don't really jungle with him. Laning phase, you don't see many Cherryo ganks as a Hebo. He just builds up that Warlock staff, and then when laning phase is over, we have a Hebo. That's kind of how Mouse plays this. Right now, they have to play into Obey, looking for the second Gold Fury of the game.
And Hobble can be very safe depending on how well the rest of your laning phases go. Gold Fury less than half health as Obey Alliance trying to secure their second one, but it's all Obey. iRaffer actually getting plucked and deleted.
Cherryo goes ahead, doesn't even need the ultimate to take care of that one. PrettyPriMe lines up the ult, cancels it one more time. The threat, very real. Obey started the Gold Fury, and Mouse makes sure that they do not finish it.
Served up on the dinner plate. Dardez making the pluck happen, and iRaffer sitting at level 12 Fafnir. He has the Heartward Amulet for a little bit of magical defense, but just not enough to really matter at the end of the day. They don't even have time to pop the shell after landing to make any sort of survival attempt.
I really want to point out Xaliea here. 489 gold per minute. Just look at the build here, folks. He's so far ahead. Action coming our way, though. We'll dive deep in a moment. Mousesports starting the Gold Fury this time around. Now, iRaffer is back, so not exactly the 5-on-4 power play that they initially had. And I think that will send Mousesports back into their own jungle. But Toli, look at this lead for Xaliea. I acknowledge that he does have one cheaper item there, but just being full-kitted right now, level 19, far and above anyone else on the battlefield, is a very big boon for Obey.
Well, the thing is, a lot of these items are relatively cost-effective. Stone of Binding at 1,700 gold. You're looking at Voidstone at 2,150. These are not the most expensive items in the world. So he looks like he's full build, basically, still sitting on the Warrior's Blessing as well, but this build will definitely fall off within the next 10 minutes.
Obey Alliance take the Gold Fury with the ultimate, but that leaves BigManTingz' Kraken to do the damage. Xaliea lining everybody up, sending them away, and Cherryo forced into the defensive ultimate. He's going to fall to the big dog. 3 kills in total for Obey Alliance. Spudio with 1 finds iRaffer around the corner and quickly cancels to get himself out of danger.
It's a 4-on-4. Mousesports don't want to give this up. They're looking for a pluck from Dardez. Xaliea going to get slowed away as he devours and jumps away. PrettyPriMe trying to get the pot shots off, but the rest of Mousesports not interested. Are they going to go for a tower? Are they going for the big boy?
Looks like Tier 1 tower is usually the call. BigManTingz has no mana, and so I think that prevents them from going the outlandish Fire Giant call. But Tier 1 tower is usually the response once players lose a Gold Fury but win the ensuing team fight. And so what has become very standard here for Mousesports allows them to cut the Gold Fury a little bit. But big picture, Obey Alliance still drastically leading this one by about 4,200 gold.
It's not too much to write home about. Only 22 minutes and a half into this game, as I'm not too worried for Mousesports' chances, considering that this lead is almost insignificant for Obey Alliance. It allows them to control more vision on the right side of the map, but it's Mousesports that's going to be forcing team fights with the Sobek pluck more than Obey Alliance will with Rapper's hammer stuns, with CaptainTwig going into the backline.
I would argue that 4,000 gold is when you got to start to getting nervous, right? When you look at 2,000 gold, that's all well and good. It's an extra ward here or there when you cut it down by 5 players. But 4,000, 5,000 gold, you're talking about almost 1,000 gold per player, which is almost a third of an item, which is a tangible lead. iRaffer.
Pluck onto iRaffer.
But, totally, you were talking about Mouse being the initiators, and if Dardez can repeatedly find these fantastic plucks, this is the way these team fights are going to go. CaptainTwig just dashes out of there. But the shots from Spudio.
Not in range of the third one, unfortunately. The Bracer of Undoing was still on cooldown. He could have been able to pop that and then go back into this team fight. Very unfortunate timing, because even despite Obey losing iRaffer at the beginning of this team fight, that 4-on-5 should have been Obey's after all those ultimates and cooldowns being not available.
Cherryo looking for Xaliea.
Good silence.
Does have a ton of magical protection, so very safe.
Nika, very important silence onto Xaliea for the follow-up, whether it was going to be the ghastly breath or just a straight-up paralyzing spit to catch Cherryo right immediately after that crushing wave.
Nika making his presence known.
He attack, but he also protect.
I like that. It's a good one. I did like that. Trying to climb up on there. Trying to get Mouse somewhere relevant. They have not been relevant for the past split and a half. Halfway through summertime, rearing their head, trying to be a threat. Game number 1 certainly looked like it, and I spent the majority of the telecast sitting here and just mentioning how impressive it was for them to be doing what they did, and totally kept us in check, kept us grounded, and said, this is Obey playing not their best strategy. It was mid lane Neath, which is not my favorite for Obey. Here is Obey playing their best strategy. Thoth in the hands of PrettyPriMe, Ataraxia on Ullr. He loves this character, right? I like this. And Mouse trying to keep up.
And the thing you were talking about, how Mouse kind of staggered a little bit. Compared to Season 4, I would argue that Obey has staggered a lot in Season 5.
Oh, very, very true. I mean, Obey Alliance was a Tier 1 team, and now they're Tier 1.5. If I was saying they're still a force to be reckoned with, Anatoly, without a doubt, but this is not the same team that we saw last year.
They won Spring Split in Season 4.
Yep.
I don't think they even qualified to Valencia.
No, they didn't.
In that summer split. Fall split, fall split was fall split. But this Season 5, not off to the great start, the way that they really wanted to.
Yeah, not quite. Could be the support trade. iRaffer and MLZ traded out at the beginning of the season. Certainly could be a part of it. Looking forward, though, on top of the mid lane mage is CaptainTwig. Cuts BigManTingz down to half, but the Whirlpool going to be good. Dardez trying to avoid certain death, and he will. Collapsed on by Obey Alliance. The support player gets on out of there.
Still barely able to escape the clutches. It's Dardez back. Even backing was BigManTingz. Gold Fury up in 2 seconds. Obey Alliance having the timer and seeing at least Dardez back could force something to go through, but keep in mind, PrettyPriMe invested into Final Judgment. They did not hear or see the Kraken being used. So you got to play around that cooldown and even the crushing wave. So Obey Alliance going to take their time with this third Gold Fury.
Yeah, 26:40 on the clock and only 6 kills. Quite a slow-paced game in juxtaposition to what we've seen throughout the course of the summer split. Kind of, by now, games are always done.
It's a scary thing, though, because Obey Alliance, yes, they have a lead, but the composition from Mousesports does so much damage in a quick amount of time that you're not willing to try to overextend to command a bigger lead quite yet. You're still going to be pushing and pulling each other to look for those small openings.
Yeah, this is the moment in time where, or this is a draft, a composition from Mouse that could just surprise you in the late game. And if they get the right team fight, they can win the game while being down in gold. We've seen that as recently as this week. So certainly something to keep in mind. Mousesports trying to push up out of their own jungle, but Obey doing a great job of zoning and just making sure that Mouse can't really leave their own house.
Not going to leave quite yet. Cherryo looking for the knock-up onto Xaliea just for that poke. This is getting to the point where Habua's going to be starting to do a lot of damage. Soul Reaver available, Obsidian Shard for a lot of penetration. With the recent changes where you get extra penetration percent going from 175 threshold to 200. Ataraxia, fatty fingered his beats.
Not a great look, but it's a different style for the mid lane. Who does have a great look? Cherryo's looking nowhere as he's sat down by the mage. BigManTingz will also fall. Raxia hits that one though, Toli.
You did definitely hit something. Kraken didn't hit anything that was useful enough to stop the Gold Fury attempt, but Bay Alliance not interested in this Gold Fury attempt. They're taking their talents to the right side of the map.
Looking for the Pyromancer at the very least.
It's got to be the Fire Giant.
You think it's a full fire?
You don't stop Gold Fury just for a Pyromancer.
I agree. Fire Giant will be started by Obey. Mouse lurking but not local. Halfway down already is the big guy. Dardez not here. Spudio going to go and look for the Gold Fury himself. Nika's here, but he's by himself. The call for Mouse has been to relinquish the Fire Giant, get the Gold Fury for themselves. Frankly, I like that call.
Spudio going to try to make something happen on the left side to get at least a little bit of gold for Mouse's hand. Trying to play defense. You don't want to deal with Obey Alliance at 6 items quite yet, so you're going to limit some of that gold gain.
Right now, 61-56 is the result. Mouse still have 3 towers available, or one. Yeah, Mouse still. No. I'm sorry, Mouse actually did well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 towers available for Obey to go ahead and knock down. So that'll be 2K in the left lane, 2K in the mid lane, and 500 on the right side. So a 4,500 potential gold swing if Obey are able to go ahead and take care of Mouse's towers.
Well, 5,500. It's 1,500 for the tier 2 tower out of Mousesports.
I counted it as the tier 1.
Yeah, but either way, 4,500, 5,500, it's still a solid amount of gold that Obey Alliance have the potential for, but I don't think Mousesports are even willing to give up the tier 1 mid tower. Look how Dardez is positioned. He doesn't want to be caught out in the vision range because he's looking for the blink until finally Mouse is calling him off. CaptainTwig on the right side forces Mouse in different spots.
Yeah, you've got the CaptainTwig blink, which will be very disruptive.
So
Xaliea can also blink on you.
So will Dardez. That's what he was looking for initially. He's trying to put himself not in range of getting hit by anyone.
Right now, it's working out for him. iRaffer, however, taking the tower, forced to stop. And one more time, Obey trying to aggress in this middle lane. Still relatively low.
They were waiting for Ataraxia's beats to be available just now, coming off of cooldown. So this could be go time for Obey Alliance.
CaptainTwig looking for the flank. Coming on the right side. Watch that side of your screen. PrettyPriMe plopped and dropped. BigManTingz takes one, but he's going to go down with him. Both mid laners out of the conversation. Nika dashes on Raxia. Knock him is good, but Ataraxia finds the jump anyway. Spudio lurking on the backline, as he should, as a Hunter player. CaptainTwig on the run. Left side, iRaffer on the run from Dardez.
It's hard to run away from an Amaterasu. Nika level 20. As long as he's grouped up with the rest of his team, is Twig still being the nuisance. Remember, Fire Giant still around Obey's waist for another minute and a half.
Dardez brought down low, but Nika gonna rush forward and silence out the enemy to save his own teammate.
Oh no, Ataraxia, he misses 3 basic attacks and the axe. Nika using that mobility to his advantage, but he didn't have the dash to get away. He invested it to try to poke out Ataraxia.
Yeah, not one that's going in Nika's highlight reel. That's for sure. But Mouse responded to that very, very nicely. That is a successful defensive stop from Mouse on the tier 2 tower. Obey are going to look for a second shot. They will get it this time around.
And unfortunately, it was a great pluck as PrettyPriMe was able to get immediately destroyed. I don't think that PrettyPriMe was aware that the blink was either available or that was a possibility. He was not prepared for it. He used his beads way too late. He got plugged into the Kraken, couldn't Aegis upon landing, and it was just too little, too late.
It's kind of funny, you know, on the desk, Finch black and white asked Taco, hey, is Sobek pluck enough setup for the mid lane Poseidon? The answer is yes for BigManTingz. BigManTingz has only needed the Sobek and is timing them really, really nicely. Again, I was talking nicely about the team, but let me drill down into just the mid laner himself. BigManTingz, what a season for this guy.
He's made a lot of improvement since Season 3.
Since being a support?
Fnatic support, yes. Since Season 3. He's
mean,
definitely been able to.
You got to work very closely with him. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm just very excited that so you coached him. What could you tell us a little bit about BigManTingz' sort of thought process and his mental part of the game?
That was his first season of the SPL in his infancy. He was kind of going with the flow. He had a great mind for the game. He was willing to work with everyone around him. He was just very eager to be there at the first place. And he played very well when given the opportunity to do so, made the calls, made everything happen as the support really should. But it seemed like he was longing for something more.
Yeah.
And now he's given the opportunity to really show off his talent in the mid lane. I like the improvements.
And so is this something, are you proud?
This is him flying himself. I was merely guiding not just him, but just the rest of his teammates to try to be functional.
Mouse trying to be functional right now and doing a good job of it. Although here in game number 2, not so much. Game number 1 went Mouse's direction, as you can see. And Obey were not playing their number 1 strategy. Now here in game number 2, they are. And perhaps that's why they find themselves, they being Obey, up 10,000 gold. Mouse, Fire Giant available, playing correctly and keeping Obey off of the objective. Trying to...
This is the poke that they really need to get off. A lot of long-range damage between PrettyPriMe and Ataraxia, utilizing their former Titan bond together to create this onslaught of damage. Dardez already at about 75% health as a result of it. Still bullying out Mousesports. iRaffer going to take some damage of his own, but it's just to beat that buffer that PrettyPriMe needs to return fire.
Making sure that he's not a part of something bigger and just something small. Not something you want to do.
Yet again, PrettyPriMe looking for the shots. Procs a little bit of the E-staff damage for every single time that the poke happens. That's a short cooldown. It's 10 seconds internal cooldown.
You got to keep that one in mind.
For only about 5% extra magical damage, that eventually adds up. Nika already at about 60% health.
Nika there, brought down to 50. Meanwhile, Xaliea going to serve up one, but BigManTingz gets stuck by the wall. Bad Kraken coming out from BMT. Xaliea getting chased down. There's Spudio again from a distance. Great positioning from the Hunter. The carry is going to help his team go forward. CaptainTwig caught up, served up. Spudio finds the double kill.
Not done yet, though, because the rest of Mouse a little bit low, and that's why Obey are going back in. The jump down from iRaffer for a little bit. PrettyPriMe dash down as well, but Mouse going to back out. They're a little too low, but they can't concede this Fire Giant quite yet.
There on the right side is going to be Nika. Trouble. Dashes away, no problem.
Oh, the stun from iRaffer just not having the range, unfortunately. Neither will PrettyPriMe. That's going to extend and deplete the duration of iRaffer's ultimate. Mouse with a great defense, and they're the ones with the opportunity to secure their Fire Giant.
Deeper and deeper into this game we go. And Mouse right now down 9,000 gold, give or take. Obey, I'll give him the 10,000 mark. Dardez started this Fire Giant.
This could be a comeback for Mouse. These knockups from Cherryo have been very fruitful. They're about to fight without CaptainTwig in a 5-on-4.
iRaffer in trouble. He's going to get stunned out, but knocked up first. There's the whirlpool damage. Where's the follow-up? He's still alive. Kraken! BigManTingz with the BigManTingz. Xaliea going to turn around and take care of the mid lane mage. iRaffer sits down, so does BigManTingz. That's a win for Obey, honestly. Without the Kraken man on the field, a lot of damage being lost for Mouse.
Definitely going to feel that one, but going to lose a lot of frontline presence from iRaffer as well. You have a lot of damage with his Dragon ultimate, but look at all this minion wave on the left-hand side real quick. There's going to be a lot of archers hitting that Phoenix.
Ooh, that's true. They could be able to take that bird down,
It's possible. There's not enough melee minions. Dardez was going for the block, but CaptainTwig intercepting it. It's up to Nika to stop Obey from getting this Fire Giant.
Cherryo going to look for Ataraxia. Nice Aegis protects him from the ultimate out of Hebo. Hunter goes to the sky, finds PrettyPriMe with the shot. But CaptainTwig, number 2 of the conquest, blinking forward, trying to turn that into a 3. Spudio turns around, looks towards Xaliea. So will Nika. Hunter jumps away. Ultimate from Xaliea brings him 2. That's the wrong direction.
No, it's the right direction because they find both of them. Obey Alliance find a nice 4 kills. That Phoenix, though, took a little bit of damage, but it doesn't matter because of how successful Obey were with that team fight.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Xaliea looked like he put... I was concerned that he brought the players to Ataraxia. I thought the players were going to be able to rush Ataraxia, but the damage from Obey a little bit too quick.
Oh, BigManTingz with a Kraken knock up onto Twig, and there goes the Bracer, getting back a little bit more health. BigManTingz, though, without the Kraken, needs to find a way to steal this one. Obey securing the enhanced Fire Giant. BigManTingz between iRaffer, between Twig, between Xaliea and Ataraxia cannot make anything happen.
If he has his ultimate, that's a triple kill. Likely had to use the ultimate to be alive in that moment, though.
He needs to stop using any sorts of damage onto Twig. Too tanky. Runic Shield, Hide of the Urchin, Mad Guy's Cloak for extra health, even Masamune for a little bit of extra health and defenses. It's not the ideal candidate target.
Not at all. He wants to look towards somebody squishy like the Hunter. Right now, CaptainTwig getting in trouble. There he is. Cherryo barely missing him, but gets hit by iRaffer and the rest of Obey Alliance. Mouse still trying to play defense, gets stunned out. 5-on-4. Make that a 4-on-4.
1, 2. 2 off the mark. 3. Not going to connect either, but it's Ataraxia that gets caught behind Dardez. And now it's Mousesports making a statement. Obey Alliance getting ahead of themselves.
Mouse just playing defense and saying, you got to respect us. We're down 15K, but you still got to respect us here. That was very good defense coming out from Mouse. Admittedly, I think that Dardez and Nika come equipped with some of the better defensive ultimates.
Xaliea just went a little too deep there. Between the middle and the right side Phoenix, he had no business there without Obey having all 5 members being relatively healthy. I'm surprised they just didn't reset after the Fire Giant and try to look for the tier 2 tower on the left side dual lane and look for the most important Phoenix of the game.
Certainly possible. Right now, though, just going for the tier 2. Want to collect that money in the bank.
Like, yeah, they killed BigManTingz, so I guess they really wanted to abuse that respawn timer. That could have been the one game plan from Obey.
I suppose. Certainly could be the look. Right now, Cherryo has just made it back alive. I dropped my pen. Pings on the left-hand side, that tier tower going down. Cherryo on the Hebo has looked pretty all right, though not in this game. 1, 5, and 7. His damage on the higher end. Number 1 on his squad. Haven't been able to find the last hits, though I suppose that's rather irrelevant.
It was just a lot of poke damage around the Fire Giant dance. That's what Thoth does really well, and Dardez doing a great job setting up his team. Knock up onto CaptainTwig. That Bracer not really being too fruitful. Spudio trying to find the hits, but not having the vision.
iRaffer not going to be cut down. However, there's the sprint. Mouse going to be hitting the gas pedal, looking for something big. Big Kraken! BigManTingz puts big number 11 on the board. Mousesports surging forward. Xaliea down for over a minute, and Mouse are still hungry. Blinking forward, Dardez finds iRaffer. Put in the whirlpool, and the support player transforms. Can't jump away. Oh, he finds the wall.
Just barely.
Oh, my goodness.
CaptainTwig now in the backline, trying to set up for the more damage from PrettyPriMe. Final Judgment being used, but it doesn't hit the right targets. Now on the full retreat, they buy more time while Xaliea is still dead.
This is also, old Mouse had a tendency to kind of throw the towel in early, totally. I realize that that's not a nice thing that players don't like to hear, but that's the reality of it. I definitely saw early non-surrenders from Mouse that I was none too happy about. Mouse are playing into this one, down 10,000 gold, 41 minutes in, with 2 enemy Fire Giants, like there is not a bad thing going on here. This mental fortitude is something that this Mousesports squad has always lacked, going all the way back to some of the older teams.
And this is them really learning all the mistakes that they made in the previous splits. You give this team an inch, they're going to take a mile. Honestly, any SPL team, North America, Europe, regardless, are going to be able to take any little advantage you give them and turn it on its head. The double red buff between Spudio and Cherryo after this can allow them to continue the aggression if they really want to. The respect that Dardez is not getting is absurd because his plucks have been on point every time. CaptainTwig going so far deep into that action that the rest of Obey Alliance are trying to follow up and do something off of it. Like, yeah, I understand that this is one resilient Serqet. Winged Blade, Runic Shield, Mad Guy's Cloak, Masamune, Hide of the Urchin. Outside of the Warrior Tabai, those are all either hybrid or purely defensive items
Yep.
to try to make this Serqet tank work, but you can't do it alone. You got to make sure that you use your timing window efficiently. iRaffer and CaptainTwig need to be into the mix at the same time.
Ping's coming out. Obey know where Mouse is. Fire Giant about to respawn. In fact, here he is. He's back. He's ready to rumble. Mousesports on the outside looking in. Obey have control of the pit, and they will be looking for the objective. But they're looking for the team fight first. iRaffer, the buffer between Mouse's carries and his mid lane mage, Xaliea on the other side. Love the positioning, using that rock as a third goalie.
Still, it's just a game of chicken between these two, and Dardez gets the pluck off of PrettyPriMe with the purification beats. Dardez takes some return fight, but iRaffer eats it just as much.
If you don't punish Dardez from 100 to 0 there, he's going to do it again when you don't have the beats.
That's very true.
That is very, very scary. Dardez cut down to 60, and that's a big deal. But Dardez has been incredible. Shout out to Cherryo.
iRaffer taking so much damage between the Whirlpool and the knockup from Cherryo.
So important that Cherryo also puts the enemy support player down as well.
Trying to make it happen between both supports. Dardez looking for another pluck. Ataraxia off the mark with the axe. iRaffer forced to go north to avoid the Whirlpool, but he gets plucked in.
He finds iRaffer, Spudio to the sky, looking for the back end of the support.
Not
Finds
enough with
the
the shell.
shots.
The shell was good enough to keep iRaffer topped off. That was a guaranteed kill otherwise. There comes the blink from Cherryo. Off the mark was the knockup. Xaliea having to jump away. Those shots, the hieroglyphic assault from PrettyPriMe being felt by Cherryo.
Anybody's game here, folks. He who wins the next team fight wins the game. This could be Mouse's first victory against a top-tier team like Obey Alliance, and Obey just trying to get to game number 3. And again, per my conversation earlier, listen, I'm not saying Mousesports is the next #1 team at any stretch of the imagination, but we see Obey Alliance playing very well, playing their best composition or close to it, and struggling with Mouse. That might have a lot to say about Obey being truly a middle pack team instead of a top-end team, sure, but I think it's column A and column B. I think it's a little bit of the realization that Obey is not a #1 team, and also the fact that Mousesports are here to play with the big boys now.
It's very true. But Obey Alliance still going to try to make something happen because PrettyPriMe with a 3K potion.
That's going to hurt.
The poke has been insane.
Well, the last time when Cherryo gets cut down from the hieroglyphic assault, with this 3K potion, he's dead.
More than likely. Very much so.
25% extra power.
And the thing is, Cherryo is playing aggressive with the blink engagements. He's so close to hitting these water sprouts.
Yeah.
All he needs to do is actually connect one of them, and that's going to be the conclusion of the team fight. Mousesports should win it.
There it is. Dardez misses a pluck. That one's going to hurt. Now he's in trouble. Cut down to 80%. iRaffer engaged as well, who's down to 50. Kraken just tickles, but he still gets a lot of damage on top of him. There's Cherryo looking for the follow-up, but Twig follows up and gets him. Spudio takes down Xaliea. Jungle for solo.
But iRaffer too low to continue the team fight. He's looking to heal with the coerce, but the rest of Mouse not interested in chasing quite yet. They're waiting for a little bit of cooldowns. Dardez trying to proc CaptainTwig, Smack Guy's cloak. They see the iRaffer is very low. They might look for some sort of action onto this Fafnir.
iRaffer being very excitable right now, trying to dangle himself out there, using himself as bait, letting his team take advantage. Should Mousesports rather find the initiation. Dardez gets poked through the wall. Nika gets stunned.
This damage is just so high from PrettyPriMe, being able to buy enough time for Ataraxia to get the Pyromancer. PrettyPriMe not able to stop the bat from Dardez. Just a lot of back and forth dancing from this Fire Giant. One next team fight, you were alluding to it. Jumping into the backlines, CaptainTwig cracking, hitting two. Shell gonna buy them a moment, but two tanky targets, iRaffer and Twig absorbs it all.
Oh, Nika in trouble, has to dash away. Fire Giant started, but leashed. Spudio doing a lot of damage to PrettyPriMe right there. CaptainTwig going back to base. iRaffer trying to run away. Mousesports invading the pit area. Now we have Mousesports
Dardez
in control of the pit.
Yes, because everyone backs on out. Xaliea revived, as did Cherryo. Dardez just needs to look for the pluck. He's getting it onto iRaffer. Whirlpool not used quick enough to apply the damage to get the cripple.
Meanwhile, Xalia's initiation much better, putting two players right on top of each other. Spudio struggling to find the backline one more time. Xaliea cuts one down. CaptainTwig cuts another.
Okay.
Nika could be next, but Cherryo turns on the hunter. Down goes Ataraxia. CaptainTwig with a bubble. Cherryo with a bubble as well. Crowd control not an option. Knocking it off is one. Cherryo still trying to deal. He's dead. PrettyPriMe shows up. 4 players alive for Obey Alliance. This could be the end.
Very well could be, but keep in mind, Ataraxia is not alive. They don't have that hunter damage to get the Phoenix.
And CaptainTwig not fully offensively built. The lack of structure damage is going to be felt here.
This is going to be very difficult for Obey Alliance. Yes, they have a numbers advantage, but they're going to zone outside the Phoenix and try to take out PrettyPriMe.
Nika, Dardez, 2 very tanky characters. I would like to see them fall back onto their Phoenix so they can fight with the 3rd player.
Oh, they missed the final judgment. The stun onto Nika will be used, but he dashes away. Phoenix still being worked on, but they're chasing the kills instead of going for the Phoenix.
So important that they do chase the kill, Toli, because 2 reasons. 1, they're not getting that Phoenix if somebody can dance around, and 2, if Nika dies, they can push forward.
Dardez is here. CaptainTwig very low. The pluck not able to hit the mark. Deathbane just in the nick of time. Xaliea is here, but going to be able to get away. Titan is exposed, but still very safe. Those are regular minions, not fire. Everyone from Mouse about to come back up. Still Mousesports potential to come back in here. They're not out of it.
Right now it'll be tough. Mid lane Phoenix is down, so they've got to defend this middle lane. Fire Giant's up, so they've got to defend that as well.
As long as there's no like sort of all-in potential that Mousesports don't identify from Obey, they can easily still fight around this Fire Giant. This can go either way, but keep in mind PrettyPriMe and Ataraxia now have huge power spikes with the red buffs, double red buffs, and then CaptainTwig and iRaffer with their own mobility speed buffs.
Dardez trying to strip that bubble away around that rock. It's like the 3rd time we've seen that play go down. Fire Giant started by Obey Alliance. Going to be doing it. That said, I'm not buying this one totally. I think they want the fight more than the objective at the moment.
I agree. I definitely agree with you. Dardez trying to get the cloaks off. Look at Cherryo in the backline. Uses the beats to get in there. He misses the knockup. He gets the damage off onto PrettyPriMe, but he looks for the stun.
PrettyPriMe in trouble. Dardez finds it with the tail whip. Cherryo going to go down, but finds the ultimate first. Spudio gets one. BigManTingz gets another. 3 players down for 70 seconds. iRaffer down for 80. Obey just fell into the mousetrap. They're going to win game 2.
It's very possible. They're pinging the left side Phoenix because that's where the minions are. They're going to be able to pluck out Ataraxia, keeping him busy for the moment. Dardez does not need to be here. The rest of his teammates going for the left side. They're getting the Phoenix. Dardez is just being a bait.
Dardez is distracting Ataraxia. His teammates are taking the left side Phoenix. Dardez has gone down to the head of Ataraxia. 1 man versus the entirety of Mouse. The Titan, half HP. Ataraxia's here, has the Odibo. Not going to be enough. Obey Alliance fall to Mousesports, and that's how you enter the Pro League. Welcome, Spudio. Mouse take game 2.
50 minutes of action, but Mouse able to clean it up. This team is not to be taken lightly. Obey Alliance, they start off the split strong when they 2-0'd energy, but losing to Mousesports, a lot of inconsistency here with this team.
Like I said, this is column A and column B for me. There's going to be a lot of haters out there saying this is just, Mouse is still bad, this is just Obey playing down. And I think that there is some truth behind the second part of that conversation. But I think that Mouse has stepped out of that shadow. I don't think it's fair to say that this team is just for the moment or whatnot. I think seeing this squad come together as a unit is really impressive. And I think that's the bigger story. That's the bigger takeaway.
I think, honestly, if you ask me who's going to be the MVP, it's got to be Dardez. He's been setting up his whole entire team, not just this second game, but also the first. Keep in mind that first blood onto Ataraxia in game number 1 was set up per Dardez.
Listen, well, being able to talk to the players on a personal level, right? You get to hear their opinions and everything, and even just looking at Twitter. All of these European pros know that Dardez is dirt.
Oh, yeah.
They all lose to him in ranked.
They banned some away, his warrior supports, mage supports, but then he plays Sobek and he makes the plays happen.
Dardez, no surprise to the player community, I think, to see him perform. Very excited to see Mouse do what they did today. Let's break it down on the desk.
Thank you, Tom and Toli, and wow. Finch and Taco here. We got to break that set down. I mean, Mouse appear to be here. They're able to get that set victory in 2 games over Obey. That last one, though, was not easy at all, Taco. I mean, it was a grueling match that kept coming down to who had beads win, who had which cooldowns win. Just a small moment, and Mouse are the ones that come out on top.
It's crazy to think, though, that Obey just finished sieging Mouse's mid-end Phoenix. It looks like the game is finally about to ramp up to a close, and then the next thing you know, Mouse are just fighting into Obey at the Fire Giant, doing the unthinkable, it felt like, and they come out on top. It was such a huge risk to go for that fight towards the Fire Giant pit, but that heavy commitment onto PrettyPriMe, they were just looking so heavily to take that Thoth out immediately that Obey just weren't able to get into position in time. PrettyPriMe broke apart from his team too quickly, and they just cannot follow him up.
Well, they were right to go all in on Prime. He was almost all their damage, 48,000 for Obey Alliance, but on the other side, 40,000 for this young man. Spudio is selected as the MVP there by Mixer Chat. And what a set he's had here for himself. He did not come out of the gate meekly. He didn't need time to warm up and find his role. Spudio was a key part of why they won this set. He played out of his mind.
And you know what, Finch? You brought up a great point even before we started this death segment, in that Obey just put way too much reliance into PrettyPriMe and having to be that sole damage proprietor. Prime couldn't do it alone. He needed somebody else to back him up, but Ullr and the tank Serqet build were just not able to bring it like what Obey was looking for, and that's where it really shone through for Mouse there in that final team fight. Cherryo gets the crushing wave off right before he dies, and more importantly, 2 members from Obey just stuck right there in the center looking to collapse on him, end up getting eaten up by BigManTingz' Kraken. That sets up Spudio in an even nicer spot to just follow it up, look for those easy securable autos, and then before you know it, everybody's got at the picture.
And that's what it is. It's not that BigManTingz is doing 50,000 damage and carrying him through that game. His damage was burst on one target, crackening people and deleting them from the team fight. So well played. And I was worried for BigManTingz' life. I think he beads the second he spawned before that last fight coming out of the fountain, but didn't end up mattering, man. They were able to find that last fight and bring it and really bring it into their own. And yeah, there's a couple questions about what some of the Obey play there. The tanky Serqet, I like the idea. Maybe it wasn't quite enough damage. The Ullr, great for them early, maybe not as much damage as Spudio was able to do on the run.
I don't want to take away at all from Mouse's performance, because I think that the Mouse just did a great job here to find
They won the set. Obey did not throw.
But Obey, at the same time, this has to be a beyond disappointing moment for them, because this is a team where coming into the summer split, they looked hot. It was a phenomenal start for them.
Yeah.
They take the set win off of energy, and everybody thinks, wow, this is the Obey we were all expecting in the spring split. But I'm starting to think that time for Obey to be considered one of the top 3 teams in Europe, it's quickly fading away. And I think that this set especially has probably played such a heavy spoiler to Obey in that regard, because I just don't see a realistically Dig energy rival dropping these kind of sets.
And not to say, and you prefaced it with this, not that Mouse isn't a strong team, but they're definitely not in the top 3, not yet. They're showing us some shades of that here now, though, right? That they certainly could be at some point. They just seem revitalized with Spudio here on their roster, but Obey maybe just not quite as strong as we once thought they were. Certainly an opportunity for them to bounce back on the back half of the split, but we're going to have to see that from them. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at what matches we can expect to be coming up here. We do still have the ones Friday. Europe is done for this week, but hard to transition over to North America after that huge Europe set, but North America in position for them upsets of their own. Splice up against CLG. Really a chance for Splice now to cement themselves at the top 3 team if they can take out CLG, who I believe used to hold that spot.
CLG has kind of felt a little bit like the NA Obey. I think that these are both teams that should definitely be doing a little bit more than what we've seen, and it's still, you want to believe that this isn't everything we have witnessed from Obey. But for them to just lose the set 2-0 completely when they have such heavy standards and expectations set for themselves, that's, I think, where you start to draw the question of whether or not they could really solidify themselves as a top 3 competitor.
Well, I'm right there with you, Taco. And I mean, we saw the schedule for North America that's going to be coming up next. I mean, if Splice can win this set, they would only have dropped to E-United. Certainly no shame in going through the first half of the split, only drop it to the world champs. So very excited to see what more we're going to be able to see from them. But let's go ahead and take a look at the whole broadcast format that we have here now for Summer Taco. Esports Weekly every Monday, 10 a.m., where you get to hear our predictions, our more in-depth breakdowns. Tom and I have a meta discussion as well. And Taco, I mean, let me hear it.
Oh, no. I just remembered about the predictions. My week is Oh,
well, how many
God.
of us predicted Mouse over Obey here? I mean, it can't have been a lot.
Finch, you don't understand. I think I've gotten one set right this week.
That's,
out of all of them.
Taco, I'm going to come to your defense here. That's good for the league. You know, when it's hard for the people who follow the league the most to predict what's going to happen, it just means that it's more competitive than ever. So I got your back on that one, Taco. I got your back on that one. No
I trusted Obey twice. Well, needless to say, I think it's starting to become more and more evident throughout the weeks. Some of the consistency factors that have definitely been an issue for more than just one team in the league.
That's right. Obey have a little bit more they got to work on if they want to try and get things cleaned out here. But we're just about bringing everything to a close here for Taco. I mean, that's it for EU. We do have plenty of SPL action happening in North America on Friday, as well as I believe patch notes are coming up. You're going to want to make sure that you catch our update show, get your first look at Baron, Samdi, Taco, save me.
Samudi.
Somebody. Yeah, I need somebody to love. That's great. We didn't practice that at all, Taco. Perfect. But that you want to make sure you check out the update show, and then believe we're going into SML right after that. So we got a ton of action for you tomorrow, but that is going to do it here for the SPL today. As always, have a great night, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you tomorrow.